Every crash, every panic headline, every time you see red candles flooding the chart, it's not just about the market, it's about biology. Because fear doesn't just sell, it spreads. It spreads through news feeds, through X posts, through the tone of voice in the guy on CNBC. It spreads through your body. Your pulse spikes, your breathing shortens, your mouse hovers over the sell button, and for a second, you're not a trader anymore. You're a human reacting to danger. That's because your brain wasn't built for stock trading. It was built for survival. When a headline screams collapse, your amygdala doesn't know it's a metaphor. It fires off the same stress response it would if a predator walked into the room. Heart rate up, tunnel vision on, logic offline. You think you're analyzing the chart, but really you're just trying to feel safe again. And that's why fear headlines move faster than optimism ever could. It's not just sentiment, it's circuitry. The entire market is a reflection of millions of nervous systems reacting at once. Cortisol spikes turning into selling pressure, dopamine droughts showed up as missed entries, serotonin dips leading to hesitation. But here's the flip. Once you understand that mechanism, once you realize the market's panic is a mirror of the human threat response, you can flip it from weakness into your edge. You can learn to trade from confidence instead of cortisol. So let's start right there. Have you ever felt your heart race before pressing buy or sell? Be honest, I know I have. That moment is super important. The spike in your chest, the hesitation, the second guessing, that's not random. That's your nervous system stepping into the trade with you. And what's crazy is that exact second says everything about your trading psychology. It's a snapshot of the invisible battle between fear and confidence that most traders never even realize is happening. That's why most traders don't work on it. They blame strategy or indicators, and that's also why most traders fail or quit. Inside our Mind Over Markets program, we don't just talk about that, we train it. We don't explain confidence, we build it. We don't describe emotional control, we condition it. Because when you felt that adrenaline hit and you know how to regulate it, when you've literally repped that emotional moment, it stops being fear and it starts being focus. That's why I say you don't need to get rid of emotion to trade well, you need to understand it and retrain your body to work with it instead of against it. And that's where we get into the topic for this video, because the entire market runs on that same biology. The headlines you see, the volatility you feel, they're just the collective nervous system of millions of traders doing the same thing you are in that moment. And we can trade that if we know how. That's what our narrative trading course in the Mind Over Market system is all about. Fear actually spreads through the brain like a virus. When you see a red candle on your chart, when someone in your group chat screams the market's crashing, when CNBC flashes the word panic, your mirror neurons fire. Those are the empathy circuits in your brain that mimic what others feel. You literally catch their emotion. You don't just read panic, you absorb it. That's why the room feels heavier when everyone's tense. Why your heart rate rises even though nothing has changed in your stock positions yet. Your nervous system is syncing with the crowd. And evolution designed it that way. Back in the wild, if one member of the tribe saw a predator and ran, everyone who mirrored that fear survived. The ones who stopped to analyze, they got eaten. So fast forward to today, same wiring, different battlefield. Social media feeds, watch lists, live tickers, 1,000 digital tribe members all reacting in real time. One panic post can ripple through millions of nervous systems in seconds. Your brain values avoiding pain more than pursuing gain. That's called loss aversion and is hard-coded. So it will always prioritize the negative signal first. Confidence, on the other hand, takes work. It requires the prefrontal cortex, the slow, deliberate, rational part of your brain, to come back online. That's why confidence never goes viral. It has to be built, not caught. And that is the biological reason markets crash fast and recover slow and steady. Fear is instant, chemical, automatic. Confidence is earned, neural, deliberate. You can actually visualize it. Every sell-off is a wave of amygdala activation across the market. The recovery is the slow re-engagement of the prefrontal cortex as people calm down, reassess, and start buying again. That lag, the gap between fear impulse and confidence rebuilding, is where opportunity lives for traders and investors. That's where traders who understand biology can read the emotional cycle before the chart confirms it. So now that we understand why fear moves faster than confidence, let's talk about how to turn that into an edge, how to trade when your nervous system is trying to sabotage you. I call it the 3R framework: recognize, rewire, reactivate. Let's start with recognize. Most traders try to fight emotion, but the real pros notice it first. That tightness in your chest, that urge to scroll faster, that need to click out of the trade the second it wobbles, that's your amygdala calling the shots. It's not a lack of discipline, it's your brain doing its job a little too well. So step 1 is labeling it. Literally say to yourself, okay, my threat system just activated. Just like when you are starting to get sick, you can spot out the symptoms early and try to treat it before it gets bad, like a runny nose, sore throat, headache. You can do the same with trading: sweaty palms, heightened heartbeat, and other cues. That single moment of awareness already hands power back to your prefrontal cortex, the part that makes decisions instead of reactions. Emotional traders have the cues happen, ignore them, and then trade from reaction mode instead of strategy mode. Being able to recognize when this shift is happening is the first step to combating it. Next is rewire. You can't outthink cortisol, you have to burn it off. Use a breathing reset, like the physiological sigh: 2 short inhales, 1 long exhale. Or a simple box breathing, which is a 4-second inhale, 4-second hold, 4-second exhale, and another 4-second hold before repeating. Within 90 seconds, you can lower stress hormones and reopen the neural pathway for rational thought. That's not some spiritual thing, that's neuroscience. You're literally clearing the chemical fog so your judgment can come back online. Then comes reactivate. Confidence isn't a feeling, it's an operating state. Once you've calmed the biology, shift your focus back to data and structure. Zoom out to volume trends, rotation flows, sentiment metrics, or whatever it is that your strategy and edge has you typically doing. These are the objective anchors that pull you back into logic. Your brain loves structure. It sees it as safety. So the more you anchor in data, the less room emotion has to hijack your decisions. Most trading classes love to repeat the same old slogan: buy fear, sell greed. But let's be real. That's lazy advice when given alone. You can't trade against fear until you understand your own threat threshold. That threshold is the exact moment your brain flips from confidence into panic, and it's different for everyone. That's why a strategy or mindset that might work for one successful trader might not work for the other. That's why trying to follow gurus or people who think their way is the only way gets people burnt in trading. Some traders can stomach a 10% drawdown without blinking. Others feel the cortisol hit after 2 red candles. Knowing where your system snaps is the beginning of mastering your personal emotional plan. Not just risk management like everyone else talks about, I'm talking about emotional management. And here's the part almost nobody teaches. The threshold is trainable. Through repetition, breathing resets, controlled exposure to volatility, and deliberate post-trade reflection. You can raise your fear tolerance just like a muscle. Each time you face a stressful setup and stay present instead of bailing, you're literally rewiring the neural pathway between your amygdala and your prefrontal cortex. When you train that, you don't just survive volatility, you monetize it. While retail traders flinch at the first surge of uncertainty, you've already rehearsed it. You've practiced calm under simulated pressure. Your system recognizes it as familiar, not fatal. That's the difference between emotional traders and institutional ones. Institutions have rehearsed fear before it hits. They've built the reps, the routines, the risk management rituals that make chaos feel normal. And that's why when the market panics, they're not scared, they're shopping. That's the edge you won't hear in most classes. The ability to stay regulated when everyone else is reactive. It's not mindset fluff, it's neuroconditioning. Confidence isn't pretending you're fearless, it's training your biology until fear becomes data. This is the stuff we teach in the Mind Over Markets program. And just like going to the gym and getting into shape, it doesn't happen overnight, and it's not always easy, and it's not always fun. But it works if you give it an actual shot and stick to it. For example, let's say you normally freak out the moment your position goes red. You see it dip 2% and your body instantly tenses up. You're already hovering over the sell button. Now, instead of instantly reacting, you decide to stay present for 30 seconds. You take 3 sets of box breathing. You feel your pulse slow down. You look at the sticky note on your computer that you purposely put there and touch it because you're using it as a tactile anchor. That touch is your cue reset, reminding yourself what the sticky note says. I sized this trade for risk, not for ego. You glance at your stop loss and realize it wasn't even hit. That moment, that micro victory, is you rewiring the circuit. You just taught your brain that red doesn't mean danger, it means data. Do that 20 times and what used to trigger panic becomes familiar. You physically raise your threat threshold, your amygdala fires weaker, and your prefrontal cortex stays online longer. That's what I mean when I say confidence isn't emotion, it's conditioning, just like cold exposure therapy. All right, now let's zoom out for a second because fear doesn't just come from your own wiring, it's amplified by design. Fear equals clicks, clicks equals ad dollars, and ad dollars dictate media behavior. The phrase markets crash will always outperform markets stabilize because nobody clicks stability, calm doesn't trend, panic does. Think about it. When you see headlines like SEC delays ETF approval again, or market crash or recession, you feel it. You get that subtle rush of anxiety because your brain is wired to treat uncertainty as danger. And that's exactly what keeps you scrolling. The media isn't evil for doing this, it's just playing the same game the market does, supply and demand. They supply fear because we demand stimulation. That's why I tell people, when you read a headline, don't just react, translate it. Ask, who benefits from me being scared right now? Is it the news outlet chasing engagement? Is it institutions shaking weak hands out of their positions? Or is it the algorithms amplifying outrage because it keeps me on the app longer? Here's the irony. Every fear cycle eventually becomes a setup for the next rally. We've seen it over and over. ETF delays turn into ETF approvals. SEC lawsuits turn into settlements and breakouts. Rate cut panics turn into rate cut euphoria. The same story that triggered panic one month becomes the headline of optimism the next. The narrative didn't change, the emotional framing did. So as narrative traders, our job isn't to react to the headline, it's to decode the motives behind it. So the question is, how do you trade fear instead of getting trapped in it? Well, here's the simple 3-step process that I use. Step 1, identify emotional extremes. Look for measurable panic, not just vibes. That means spikes in the VIX, put call ratio blowing out, social sentiment collapsing, or everyone in your feed saying it's over. When fear metrics hit max levels, it tells you we're deep in the amygdala zone of the market. Step 2, watch for stabilization. This is the point where the bad news stops moving price. You'll notice headlines still sound terrifying, but price action stops breaking down. Volume starts drying up, candles tighten, volatility compresses. That's the fear exhaustion phase. Step 3, build confident entries. Once you sense that shift, that's when you start scaling in. Not all at once, but methodically. Confidence doesn't mean going all in, it means executing your system when the crowd freezes. Fear peaks before the chart confirms it. By the time the data looks safe again, the opportunity is gone. That's what we mean by trading the narrative instead of reacting to it. You're not fighting fear, you're mapping it. And when you map it, volatility stops feeling chaotic, it becomes predictable and even profitable. Fear sells because it's fast, confidence pays because it's trained. The markets aren't just numbers on a screen, they're millions of nervous systems reacting to the same emotional signals you're feeling right now. Every crash, every pump, every hesitation candle is just a biological story playing out at scale. So if the market is just a mirror of collective biology, the real edge isn't just who has the best system, it's who has the most regulated system. The trader who masters their own biology first wins the narrative before it even hits the chart. Because when fear floods the feed, most traders ask, "What's happening?" But the professionals ask, "What's my body doing right now?" That's awareness. That's edge. Confidence isn't a feeling, it's a state you train into. And once you've built it, you don't just react to the market, you read it. You start to see where the crowd's threat system is firing, and that's where opportunity lives. That's exactly what we teach inside the Mind Over Markets Rewiring Your Mind for Market Success program and our narrative trading course, where psychology meets setup, and where you learn to rewire the emotional circuitry that's been running and ruining your trades. If you want to train your brain to stay calm while everyone else loses theirs, start there. Because in a world built on reaction, regulation is the alpha that no one's talking about.